It's really neat. I feel like, especially with the endurance aspect, running really reveals you to yourself. How you manage yourself and your effort through that type of discomfort, and when you're being challenged like that, I think it speaks to a lot of other aspects in life. You spend a lot of time with yourself, a very meditative process, I would say. Come on! This is so hard. Burns. What a stupid idea. My name is Canaan Vallejos. I am 33 years old, and I like to run in the mountains. I grew up in Pueblo, Colorado. It was a pretty rough town. Pueblo, when I was growing up, was one of the worst communities for substance abuse, teen pregnancy, gang violence, lots of drugs and stuff like that. Organized sports were a good way to keep people away from everything else that was going on in town, I started running when I was in 7th grade to gain eligibility for a student athlete award. And I got really serious about it come 8th grade year. So I grew up playing traditional sports. Baseball was my main jam. Was doing well in school, wanted to get this really niche student athlete award called the Chris Scully Award. And you had to be a varsity athlete for all 3 seasons throughout the school year. I had to pick something that wasn't baseball. So going post to post when we're doing our exercises in the outfield, I seemed to do pretty good at those sprints. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll do track. So I signed up for a summer track club. We went to tryouts. It was a USA track and field club. And I was just used to being one of the starting athletes. And when I showed up, man, I was so wrong. I got smoked. By the end of it, I was put into the 1,500 meter and 3,000 meter dashes. I didn't make the cut for anything else. So all the kids that didn't like running, those spots were left open. And I was like, sure, I'll do it. And the coach was like, well, if you want to do well, you're going to have to actually practice outside of these track practices. That was the beginning of it. After school, my mom would drive me out, and she would drive ahead of me, and I would run. And that was where I fell in love with it, was in those miserable, boring runs on this dirt road that was just straight.
I'd be in my air-conditioned car with my Coke and my candy, watching him run. And sometimes he would come to my car and he'd say, okay, I'm done. And I'd say, no, you're not done. I'm not done with my Coke, so I'll meet you down another mile or 2. And I would take off, park, and wait for him to come, and he'd run that extra mile or 2 miles, whatever it was.
We really bonded during those years. To realize my parents had sacrificed so much of their time and resources just so I could go run a few laps. It was just nice to not be fragmented in my identity in any way. I was just me and just running. It wasn't I'm from a poor and underserved community. I wasn't, Hispanic or Latino. It was a really freeing type of experience that I wasn't familiar with. I'm really thankful for that, and I had no idea the implications that would have on who I am as a person, the decisions I would make. That was it. I was hooked. In October 2019, I went out to Mount Williamson with a buddy of mine. It was a good friend from Dogpatch Boulders. He used to work there. We go to Williamson, and it's just this never-ending hike. The whole approach, I kept thinking, this is runnable. Everything up till the true alpine area is totally runnable. And I was like, I wonder if I could run up this whole mountain. I really would like to see if I could get in enough shape to where I could just jog it out. I would talk to my girlfriend Kelly about it every day. Oh, Williamson. And Kelly really was a force of nature. Super supportive, the whole time. Kind of a silly goal, but it never left. And the idea of running that peak, it was just I just couldn't help. I was I have to see if I can do that. I told my coach I want to do this, and he was kind of like, all right, I haven't really coached for something like this specific of a goal, mostly just running, but let's do it. So FKT is cool kid nomenclature for fastest known time. Fastest known times are essentially course records on various objectives or routes. An FKT will be much harder, much longer, just burly.
So I think a lot of people who are learning about Canaan's effort may be familiar with Yosemite Valley and about the Yosemite Falls Trail, which is something like 3,000 feet over like 4 miles. Like it's 3 of them in a row.
So Mount Williamson stands at 14,375 feet, just over 14 miles to get to the summit, whereas all of the topo data states it's around 11. So round trip, it was 28 miles and change. Total elevation gain was in between 10,000 and 11,000 feet of vertical gain.
You're talking about high altitude, you're talking about technical terrain, knowing mountain environments, as well as just even the temperatures.
Think about, for climbers, think about those really bad hikings you have to a wall or to a crag. Yeah, is that by 100.
You want to personally push those boundaries because you know there's a very rewarding sensation there for you, but you don't know it unless you earn it.
This is crazy. This is already here. I remember talking about this in April. About a week, maybe a week and a half before my projected date that I would go and do this thing, all these fires started erupting. I had no idea whether I should start or not, but it looked like the window was going to open up, so I decided to start. And the smoke was pretty thick. I started having a little bit of a headache. My eyes were starting to burn, and I just kind of kept pushing through it and feel the rhythm of my feet, my breath, and just taking it all in. And I remember looking towards the valley just above Anvil Camp and seeing this beautiful sunrise above this thick band of smoke. And it was just like this really crazy red color and then your normal sunrise. It was just like one of those moments of like, wow, this is what it's all about. I ran NCAA Division II with University of Colorado Springs. So I was training during the summertime for college and injured my hip pretty badly. It was basically a tear in the hip flexor. I just had all these issues after. It just was too much for my body. I forfeited my scholarship. I walked away from the sport, didn't watch it, and I just kind of fell apart. I felt like I literally lost everything. It's like, who am I? Like, if I'm not a runner, like, who am I? And I quit running altogether, got into specialty coffee, and moved to Chicago to try something else. Eventually followed good coffee here to California, where I moved to San Francisco. That was where I was introduced to cycling and climbing. So I started climbing at Dog Patch Boulders in the city. And that was kind of like my home gym, and from there that became the hub where I developed like some of the most meaningful relationships in my life. That was when I started getting back into the outdoors.
Canaan Vallejos is one of the most stoked trail runners I think I've ever met. Whenever you rock up to a trail with Canaan or rocking to meet him at the store or on the street or wherever, like you always leave that conversation more stoked about our sport and about the mountains. The energy he brings to a room, to a bouldering gym, to a trail, to a mountaintop.
Canaan's ability to enjoy life to its fullest, but not take himself too seriously. That's one of the things I admire the most of him. I'm tall, dark, and handsome. He's short and handsome. Typically, I'm like the only Latino in the area. And so when he came in to the shop, I was just like, look at this, another Latino brother here. What's going on? And so it was very like obviously different.
Whenever you go adventure or spend time and hang out with Canaan, you're going to have a smile on your face and you're going to be laughing. And I love that about him.
It goes without saying, his passion for the mountains and his pursuits of being a top trail mountain runner is yet to be seen. And I think as a friend, as a fan, and as a colleague, that gets me very excited and also inspires me. I love sharing with him whatever I can to help. It's a bond and a brotherhood.
Canaan is really good on terrain. He's like a energetic runner, which is good when you're doing group runs. It kind of picks up the people around you, gets you all kind of excited about, even when you're in the midst of suffering. You'll always have a kind of a fun thing to say to kind of pick up your mood if you're like dying on the side of a trail.
Tries everything, is not afraid, doesn't quit, keeps up, kind of hard on himself. But that's who my son is, and I'm so proud of him.
Basically, from going up the wall, I was feeling really good. Coming up to Shepherd Pass and resupplying at the lake felt really awesome. Was really happy. Had a lot of energy at that point. Continued on to the Williamson Bowl. Williamson Bowl, really technical talus field, basically, kind of like a little labyrinth. Cliffs on one side, different lakes on the other side, and it's easy to get off route or lose perspective there. Coming into the Williamson chute, I kind of started getting frustrated. One, at how slow I was moving through that area, and two, just how hard it felt. It was so different than the previous year as far as the conditions. What a stupid idea. I remember just looking at my watch and being like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it in under 5 hours. I was looking and it was like 4:38. 4:43, and I felt like I had barely moved. So I take a few steps and just kind of like, this is so hard. This mountain is breaking me. Take another few steps, and I just, at some point, was just starting to get really angry. More so with myself. I'm having this whole meltdown as I'm going up the chute. And I see that it's 4 hours and 53 minutes. And I'm like, oh no, I'm so close. I might be able to do it. It's December 25th, 2016. Go to meet up with a friend of mine. We go riding out in the canyons. As I'm told, what happened was we were riding home while we were traveling southbound on Highway 1. A car drifted into me and my bike went under and I went up and over. Was just kind of laid out on the highway. From there, apparently I was rushed to the hospital. It suffered several broken bones, bone contusions, really bad road rash, badly separated shoulder, a really bad concussion, but overall, like, amazing, like, really, really lucky. I woke up the next morning, I was just like, this is crazy. Like, I had no idea where I was, why I was there. Basically started a long recovery process. Once my body was a little bit better, my shoulder was, cleared to start doing mobility and stuff like that, I decided, I needed to get outside because I had gotten like pretty bummed during those few months, jogged a couple of miles, just flat gravel miles just to get my body moving because I desperately needed it. I didn't realize it, but I was pretty deep in like PTSD and anxiety and depression from that accident, and it was through running that I was able to recognize that, and then I ended up going to therapy for it and had really, really good success with the PTSD and the anxiety and depression that accident caused.
I think adversity is one of those necessary aspects of life that allows you to build character. They do reveal you in manners in which you probably didn't even know.
When I realized, like, oh man, like I need help, and like running was there, and I could do whatever I wanted. There was no pressure. I could do it on my own terms. I never thought I would be running again. So just to even be able to run again was such a huge gift. Almost there. Hours, 58 minutes, 24 seconds. I made it to the summit in 4 hours, 58 minutes, and like 24 seconds. I could not believe it. All this time for 5 months, and every day just thinking about this, talking about it, requesting time off with work, and then having them hear me talk about it. Like, everyone's just like, all right, Williamson, like, whatever. It was just a cool, magical moment. I remember just being pretty out of it, but just like overfilled with satisfaction and joy and disbelief. I worked so hard for this. Yeah! And I travel maybe 50 feet, and I just started bawling. I mean, I couldn't help it. It set in. I was like, wow. All of this time, all of these obstacles, being injured in 2019, not feeling like I could be running again, being in a dark headspace and having trouble with my confidence through that, finding some traction and confidence, then a pandemic hits, then finding a way to train around all of that and visualize it. I was doing weird workouts to make this stuff happen. And it all came and lined up. To get to the top and just know that it's all downhill after that was so relieving. Finally, my legs can open up and just like breathe.
If anyone can move through shitty terrain, it's Canaan. But we've been waiting, just looking to see if we can see a silhouette, and literally just when you pressed record, I just saw him maybe quarter mile after the campsite. Yeah, there he is. And he's moving. The kid's moving. He must have stopped for a little nap or something.
My legs are shot, my quads are just destroyed. And I start realizing, I'm like, this doesn't seem right. I go to step down from one of the boulders, and it starts rolling, and I jump off of it, and as it rolls forward, it almost hits my leg, and that freaked me out. I was like, man, I could have snapped my leg, and I'm like deep. I need to slow down a bit. I was trying to get back on track and get some time back, Didn't even think of using the navigation function on my watch. I was so out of it that whole time. I'm like, beep, beep, beep. And I see the line just barely to the left, and I look, and maybe 100 feet to the left of me is like a faint path where it's a little bit more solid, not so loose. I've easily lost like 25, 30 minutes just trying to get that 100 feet back to get back on track.
That shoot and bowl are treacherous.
Definitely another mental low point and emotional low point as I was coming out of the bowl. Came back to the lake to resupply, and then after that it was like, all right, let's open up and let's get all that time back. Descending the wall towards Anvil Camp, I just opened up and started charging. At this point, it's middle of the day, upper 80s, which is cool for that area, but still plenty hot, no shade. Was moving great until I got to the last 55 switchbacks. Everything just came to a halt. Pretty much went from pathetic shuffle to walking to try not to yak. During that last mile, I started feeling a lot better, and I was able to finish pretty strongly, and I was so happy to come back to the trailhead. It was such a cool experience and such a cool day. Yeah, 9 hours, 24 minutes, and like 24 seconds. Under 9:30. Touched the top at 4:58.24. That was hard. That was really hard. Yeah. What a cool experience. Oh, so satisfying, dude. So satisfying.
If you're in the constant pursuit of happiness and the constant pursuit of being the best version of yourself, then you get addicted to that pursuit of fully submerging yourself in nature and in mountain landscapes that inject you with that eternal passion and interest to be a better version of yourself. How much better can you be? How much more can you enjoy that with your community and your family and your friends? So the pursuit of FKTs isn't at all about you and the time. It's about encouraging, inspiring, and motivating others just as much as that does to yourself.
As an athlete throughout my entire life, I've confronted a lot of microaggressions and just a lot of efforts by folks to not be accepting and inclusive. I remember running with different USATF clubs and just realizing how different my reality was and these teammates that I was joining. They had access to the mountains, they had coaches, all these resources to help them, and I felt so out of place. It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I could actually find a way to make living in the mountains work. As subtle as it can be, those exclusions and microaggressions that you face on a daily level, it wears on you as a person of color. The history of our national parks and these mountain sports are not diverse. And I would like to see brands moving forward in the outdoor retail industry to help people feel comfortable and confident to explore that. It's happening. It's really inspiring to see. But it starts with the access. You can't have the representation of folks without helping enable them the access to it. So the people that have really inspired me with mountain sports, endurance sports, running, climbing, skiing, all things that I didn't have access to growing up, the one thing they instilled in me was a lot of courage just by living their lives and being themselves. and following their own path and journey. Seeing that really gave me a lot of courage and made me feel like I belonged. Being in the position that I'm in now, I definitely feel the responsibility to help foster the opportunities and experiences for these younger BIPOC community members to pursue those really special moments in the mountains. I want to leave something for them to walk into. That would be a huge win for me. Running is painful. It's uncomfortable. It's not fun for everyone, especially at first. When I was getting ready for Williamson in April, it was not fun. I hadn't run in months. I was coming off the couch from an injury, and I was so discouraged. I was shuffling, and 9-10 minute pace per mile felt so hard. Running is a gradual process, and it's really similar to climbing in that same way. Its rewards and benefits outweigh the discomfort and the pain of it. That need for self-compassion is also another reason why I think it's like such a great thing for everyone to practice.
Running is fun. Don't take yourself seriously. Results are just results. The passion and the fun is what unifies us all, which to me is way more interesting and way more appealing than winning or comparing times, because I kind of can care less, even though I do pursue those things. It's, an oxymoron maybe, but it's like, I don't care how fast you are. I just love that you run and that you explore your boundaries. That's what matters.
And it's so simple. That's what I love about it. It's so simple. It's just you and a pair of shoes.
I'm 43 years young now, and I still don't think I can grow a cool-ass mustache as his.
Yeah, his mustache is just looking out there proud and prim and proper, but not proper, rugged as well. Where are we going? Where's Canaan going tomorrow?